Go ahead. Make my day.
5 words.
Yeah, 5 words. And you don't even need to do the squint or that, that gravelly voice for people to know exactly what you're referencing.
No, you really don't. It is arguably the most famous threat in cinema history.
It's definitely the most efficient. I mean, it does an incredible amount of heavy lifting for a sentence that's composed entirely of monosyllables.
Right. It's concise, it's terrifying, and it's completely memorable.
But the reason we are digging into this today isn't just to reminisce about 80s action movies.
But we will do a little of that.
Oh, for sure, because it's fun. But you are joining us for this deep dive because we're looking at a stack of sources here that suggests this specific line is, it's almost like a skeleton key.
A skeleton key for understanding a massive shift in American culture, yeah.
Exactly. So to give you a clear overview of what we're working with, we've got production documentation for the 1983 film Sudden Impact. We have records from the American Film Institute, and surprisingly, a lot of political archives.
Which brings us to the real mission of this deep dive. We are going to figure out how a single sentence spoken by a fictional detective somehow bridged the gap between Hollywood, the White House, and even international law.
It is a wild case study in how pop culture just sort of metabolizes into reality. But to understand the mutation, we have to understand the source. We have to go back to 1983.
1983. Sudden Impact.
Right, which was the 4th Dirty Harry film.
And honestly, by the 4th film in any franchise, you usually see diminishing returns. The energy usually flags a bit.
Yeah, you start going through the motions.
Exactly. But this movie had a very specific intensity to it. Clint Eastwood was directing it himself.
He knew the character inside and out.
He did. He knew exactly what the audience wanted from Harry Callahan.
And the scene that started it all is just a masterclass in tension. So if you haven't seen it in a while, let me just paint the picture for you. Harry is in a diner. It's the morning. He's just trying to get his coffee.
And we aren't talking about some fancy latte here.
No. This is 1983. He orders it black with just a ridiculous amount of sugar.
Which is such a great character detail. He needs the energy because he is fundamentally exhausted by the system.
Yes, exactly. So he's stirring this intensely sugary coffee, and he stumbles into robbery in progress.
And typical of the franchise, it goes 0 to 60 immediately.
Right away. Harry kills all but one of the robbers in this chaotic shootout.
But it's the standoff with the survivor that actually matters for our analysis today.
Right. The dust settles.
Yeah.
And the surviving robber grabs the waitress, Loretta, I think her name is?
Yes, Loretta, played by Mara Corday.
Right. So he holds the gun to her head, and he thinks he has leverage.
He thinks he has a human shield.
Exactly. Now, in a standard police procedural, or, in the real world, this is the hostage negotiation phase. This is where you de-escalate.
You put your hands up, you talk them down.
You offer a helicopter, whatever it takes.
Right. But Harry Callahan is the complete antithesis of procedure. That is his whole appeal. He points that signature .44 Magnum revolver right in the guy's face.
And this is the crucial part that the sources highlight. He isn't shouting.
He isn't screaming to drop the gun.
No, he's barely whispering. He's got that clenched jaw delivery. He stares the guy down and dares him to shoot. Go ahead. Make my day.
Let's parse that for a second. Let's really look at the subtext. Because on the surface, it's just a cool action line.
Yeah.
But psychologically, what is he actually communicating to the robber there?
It feels like a trap.
It is a trap. It's a complete inversion of the power dynamic. He is telling the robber, if you hurt her, you aren't giving me a problem to solve. You are giving me a gift.
Right. The implication is that Harry would actually be happy to kill him.
Exactly. The subtext is that he wants the moral license to do it. If the robber shoots, Harry gets to do the thing he enjoys most, which is killing a bad guy with 0 guilt.
It's almost like premeditated self-defense.
Yeah.
He's asking for permission to pull the trigger.
That is a perfect way to put it. It's a promise of satisfaction. And the film knows that this is the core theme because they actually recur to it. They bookend the movie with it.
Oh, right. It comes back at the very end.
Yes. Directed at Mick the Rapist. Harry literally invites the villain to attack just so he can end him.
So it's not just a catchphrase.
Yes.
It's the character's entire operating philosophy.
And clearly that resonated with people. The American Film Institute ranked it number 6 on their list of the top 100 movie quotes of all time back in 2005.
Number 6, that is up there with, may the force be with you.
And here's looking at you, kid.
Which is incredible for a line that is essentially a death threat.
It really is. But here is where the deep dive gets a bit messy. Because success has 1,000 fathers, right?
Yeah, everyone wants credit for a line that big.
Exactly. And the authorship dispute here is fascinating. If you look at the official credits for Sudden Impact, you see Joseph Stinson on the screenplay and Charles B. Pierce on the story.
And both of them have been attributed with the line over the years.
Yes, Stinson is often credited with putting it in the script. But if you dig into the production lore, and specifically the uncredited work, a different name pops up. John Milius.
John Milius. The Apocalypse Now guy.
The very same. Milius is an absolute legend in Hollywood. They used to call him the Zen anarchist.
He wrote the Napalm in the Morning speech, right?
He did, and he wrote the USS Indianapolis monologue in Jaws. He has a very specific, masculine, slightly unhinged way of writing violence.
Well, Make My Day definitely feels like it shares DNA with I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
It does. It has that exact same mix of horror and coolness, that Milius bravado.
So he was brought in to punch up the script.
That's what many film historians believe, that Milius did an uncredited pass and injected that specific flavor of toughness.
But there is a twist.
There is a major twist, because even if Milius polished it or Stinson wrote it, we have found something in the archives that complicates this whole timeline significantly.
This was the part of the research that genuinely surprised me, because I think, like most of you listening, I always assumed Sudden Impact invented this phrase out of whole cloth.
You thought it was a Dirty Harry original.
Right. But that's not true, is it?
Not even close. We found a film released a full year earlier in 1982.
1982.
Yes. It's a gritty, neon-soaked thriller called Vice Squad.
Now, I had never even heard of Vice Squad before we started prepping for this deep dive.
Most people haven't. It's a cult classic now, but it wasn't exactly a massive blockbuster.
Right.
But check this out. There is a detective in the movie named Tom Walsh, played by Gary Swanson.
Okay.
And he is arresting a pimp named Ramrod.
Ramrod. That is a classic 80s naming convention. You really do not get villains named Ramrod anymore.
You really don't. So Walsh puts his gun to Ramrod's mouth, a very similar setup to the diner scene, by the way.
Right. Point blank.
And he shouts, "Come on, scumbag, make your move and make my day."
Wait, verbatim. He says, make my day.
Verbatim, a full year before Clint Eastwood said it.
So did the Sudden Impact writers steal it? Or was this just something people were already saying in 1982?
It's hard to prove definitive plagiarism.
Yeah.
It's likely a bit of Hollywood ether.
Hollywood ether, I like that.
Writers hang out in the same bars. They hear the same tough guy talk from actual cops. It might have been a phrase police officers were actually using on the street.
So it was just floating around in the culture.
Exactly. But the fascinating insight here isn't who typed it first. It's the execution.
How so?
Well, in Vice Squad, Gary Swanson shouts the line. It's frantic, it's loud. He is yelling to be heard over the chaos of the scene.
Whereas Eastwood grumbles it.
Right. Eastwood slowed it down. He made it quiet. He took a line that was already out there in the ether and gave it a specific weight.
He weaponized it.
He did. It proves that the cultural impact wasn't just about the words themselves. It was the persona delivering them. Eastwood turned a generic police shout into a cold, calculated philosophy.
And that philosophy doesn't stay contained in the movie theater. This is the pivot point in our sources where things get really fascinating.
We go from a B-movie script directly to the highest level of American politics.
The Reagan connection.
Yes. You have to remember, Ronald Reagan was the first president who was previously a professional Hollywood actor.
He understood the power of a one-liner better than any politician before him.
He really did. He knew exactly how to hit a mark and deliver a line for maximum impact.
And he decided to use this specific one-liner in a very high-stakes context.
March 1985, the American Business Conference.
Right.
Reagan is in a massive fight with Congress over tax hikes. He is trying to hold the line on his fiscal policy, and he needs to project absolute strength to his base.
Now, usually a sitting president in that situation would say something very formal like, I will not accept this legislation or I will veto this bill.
Very dry. Very lawyerly.
Right. But Reagan goes up to the podium and he says, I have my veto pen drawn and ready for any tax increase that Congress might even think of setting up. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead. Make my day.
And the crowd just went wild. It was electric.
I mean, think about the transaction that just happened there.
Yeah.
The President of the United States just compared the United States Congress to a robber holding a hostage in a diner.
And he cast himself as Dirty Harry.
Precisely. It's a sitting president co-opting a vigilante cop's catchphrase to discuss fiscal policy.
Our political archives highlight why this is so significant. He co-opted the vigilante justice, the moral certainty, and the threat of violence, and applied it to the tax code.
It's wild when you think about it.
It signaled a massive shift in political communication, the merging of entertainment and governance. He wasn't just stating a policy position, he was performing a character.
He was telling the American public, I am the enforcer.
And it worked so well that it became a staple. Other politicians saw that and took note. Clint Eastwood even referenced the line himself when he spoke at the Republican National Convention in 2012.
But it wasn't just American politics. I was surprised to see it cross the Atlantic in our research.
Oh, it absolutely went global. We have a source here from The Economist.
Which is about as far from a gritty action movie as you can possibly get. It's very proper British journalism.
Completely. And yet, in 2015, they ran a headline regarding the European debt crisis that said, "Go ahead, Angela, make my day."
Referring to Angela Merkel.
Yes. It just shows how deeply the phrase had penetrated the global consciousness.
It has just become a universal idiom for I dare you. It doesn't even carry the literal meaning of killing anymore in that context. It just means try it.
It really has. But while the political usage is fascinating, the legal usage is where the sources suggest we need to pay the most attention.
Because words shape laws.
Exactly. And this catchphrase actually changed the way we talk about and legislate self-defense in America.
We are talking about the so-called Make My Day laws.
Right. Now, we need to be very precise here to accurately reflect the legal analysis in our sources.
Absolutely.
In the legal world, these are formally known as Castle Doctrine statutes, or stand your ground laws. The basic idea is ancient. It goes all the way back to English common law.
Right. The idea that a man's home is his castle.
Yes, and that you have no duty to retreat if you are threatened inside your own home.
If someone breaks in, you don't have to run out the back door. You have the right to stand your ground and defend yourself.
Correct. But in the mid-'80s, right around the time sudden impact was at its peak cultural saturation, states like Colorado and Oklahoma started passing specific, strengthened versions of these laws.
Giving homeowners very robust protection for using lethal force against intruders.
Exactly. And the media, and even the lawyers and politicians debating these bills, started calling them the Make My Day laws.
That framing is incredibly heavy. I mean, if you call a law the Castle Doctrine, it sounds defensive. It sounds protective, like you are guarding your walls.
But if you call it a Make My Day law, what are you implying?
You're implying that the homeowner is Harry Callahan.
Yes. The sources argue that this nickname reframed self-defense from a tragic necessity into a moment of heroic triumph.
It suggests that the intruder is providing an opportunity for the homeowner to be the good guy with the gun.
It colors a legal interpretation entirely. It suggests that the person pulling the trigger is inherently the protagonist of the story.
Which is how a movie quote about a police officer provoking a criminal became shorthand for citizens' rights to use lethal force.
We have legal commentators in the archives discussing how that nickname might have actually made juries more sympathetic to shooters over the years.
Because it subconsciously linked their actions to Clint Eastwood saving the waitress.
Exactly. It creates a narrative where the shooter's actions are justified by movie logic.
That is the power of narrative right there. We frame our reality through the stories we consume. We all want to be the hero of the movie.
And we consume this particular story in every possible format. The ripple effects in pop culture are just endless. It didn't stop at politics and law.
No, it really didn't. I found some truly bizarre examples in the notes. It seems like everyone in the 80s and 90s wanted a piece of this line.
Music seems to be a big one.
Huge. T.G. Shepherd, the country singer, actually recorded a novelty song called Make My Day,
which featured Clint Eastwood himself reciting the line on the track.
Can you just imagine that recording session?
Mm-hmm.
Just T.G. Shepherd and Clint Eastwood in a vocal booth.
Just say the line, Clint. It'll be a hit.
And it was. And then you have Madonna.
The queen of pop.
Right. On her True Blue album, she has a song called White Heat. Now, she is mostly referencing an old James Cagney noir film of the same name.
But in the chorus...
In the chorus, she drops the Make My Day line.
Mixing her cinematic references.
Yeah, she's mixing her genres, but she knows that line is the hook. She knows that is what triggers the audience's recognition.
It also reached the rock scene internationally. The Finnish band Love XX uses the line in their song Action.
It really was everywhere. And we can't forget the unexpected cameos in film and video games.
Right, the 1991 Japanese film Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah.
Yes. There is literally a character in that movie who says the line in English.
Just dropping it right into a kaiju movie.
And then there's the video game character Rattleshake from the Skylanders series.
Let me guess. He's a snake.
He's a snake. And his catchphrase is, "Go ahead, snake my day."
That is a terrible pun.
It really is. But it shows the saturation. It is in kids' games. A line about justifiable homicide made it into a children's game as a snake pun.
The cultural metabolism is a weird thing.
But my absolute favorite finding in this entire deep dive has to be the translation issue. Because, as you know, idioms do not always travel well across borders.
This is a fascinating linguistic detail from our sources. So, sudden impact is released in Italy.
Right, and they have to dub it for the Italian market.
Exactly. And dubbing is an art form. The lip movements have to match as closely as possible, but the sentiment has to land with the local audience.
Now, make my day is very idiomatic English. It relies heavily on irony. It essentially implies, you will make me happy by letting me kill you.
Right. If you translate that literally into Italian, does it make sense?
It doesn't. It sounds clumsy, and it definitely doesn't carry the threat.
So the Italian translators had to make a choice. They changed the line entirely. They changed it to Coraggio, fatti ammazzare.
Coraggio fatti ammazzare. That sounds incredibly aggressive. What does that mean literally?
Literally, it translates to courage, get yourself killed.
Go ahead, get yourself killed. Wow. That strips absolutely all the irony out of it.
Completely. Make my day is cynical, it's cool, it's detached. Get yourself killed is brutal, it's direct, it is an order.
It changes Harry from a guy who is kind of enjoying the psychological game to a guy who is just issuing a straight-up death sentence.
It does. But here is the fascinating part. That Italian phrase became just as iconic in Italy as the English one did here.
Really?
Yes. It became a massive catchphrase on the streets of Rome and Milan. It even became the official title of the dubbed version of the film in Italy. They didn't call the movie Sudden Impact. They called it Coraggio, fatti ammazzare.
That is so interesting. It means that the attitude translated perfectly, even if the nuance of the actual words had to shift.
Exactly. It's still that alpha male dominance.
It validates that the core appeal wasn't just the cleverness of the English writing. The appeal was the permission to be violent.
Whether you say make my day or get yourself killed, you are tapping into the exact same dark fantasy.
The fantasy of justifiable homicide.
You are tapping into the desire of the audience to be the one holding the magnum, holding all the cards.
So when we step back and look at this whole journey we've mapped out today,
It's quite a trajectory.
we have a line that was maybe, just maybe, invented by a guy in Vice Squad a year earlier.
Then polished by a Zen anarchist screenwriter.
Made globally famous by Clint Eastwood.
Co-opted by President Ronald Reagan to fight Congress over taxes.
Used as shorthand to name real-world self-defense laws.
And then dubbed into Italian as a literal death threat.
It's an unbelievable journey for 5 simple words. When you look at all these sources together, what is the big takeaway here for you?
I think the main takeaway is that we should never underestimate the power of cool.
The power of cool. I like that.
It is very easy to dismiss action movies as just mindless entertainment or popcorn flicks that don't matter in the real world.
Right.
But this single line of dialogue managed to encapsulate an entire era's attitude toward justice, politics, and power. It captured a feeling, a very strong desire for simple, forceful solutions to complex societal problems.
It gave people a vocabulary for their anger and their desire for control.
Exactly. It moved from a Hollywood script to a president's speech to the very laws that govern our safety in our own homes.
Which suggests that our culture doesn't just watch movies, we live inside them.
We take these fictional moments, these perfectly scripted fantasies, and we actually build our reality around them.
We want our presidents to act like action heroes, and we want our legal system to follow movie logic.
That's what the sources show us.
That is a really powerful and honestly a slightly terrifying thought. We are legally and politically living in the shadow of a fictional 1983 detective.
In many very real ways, yes.
Well, on that note, here is something for you to chew on as you go about your day. We have spent this entire deep dive breaking down how a quote from 1983 completely rewired our culture.
Decades ago.
Right. So ask yourself this. What movie quote or meme or viral video from today is currently shaping the laws and the politics of tomorrow?
That's a great question.
What are we laughing at on our phones right now that is going to be written into the tax code or the penal code in 20 years?
I am not entirely sure I want to know the answer to that.
It is definitely worth thinking about, though.
Oh.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We really hope we, well,
Don't say it.
made your day. Thanks for listening.